I'll click the button and
Are we live?
should be up. Yeah, it should be we should be live. How you guys? Do you see it? Should be up now. I think it's there's a little bit of a I put it on a little
Where's
bit
that
of
link?
a
Where that link?
oh God.
Is it in general?
I'm waiting for the link. The channel is Fruity Rumpus Asshole Podcast. Did we ever give you the link?
I mean, I was just watching the old one. Oh, here, there's the.
There it is.
I'll just share it into.
Here we go. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna wait a little bit for people to come in before we officially start.
Yep. Oh, wow, we already got somebody. Hello, Kitan Vale. How are you?
He's our #1 fan.
He's always been there, man. And so put that in the Homestead community. Put that in the other one.
Oh, you put it in the general chat in the Macon Discord. I do think they should just call it the Macon Discord.
The Macon? No.
It's not a selling point. That's fair.
No, it's not.
Johnny notifications on. Hell yes, brother.
Making
we don't ask
these
people
nuts.
to subscribe and like and subscribe enough.
That would be crazy. I don't know how big this one's gonna be. I don't know if it's. I mean, I don't really care about numbers or anything, unless it's like.
Dude, we got 5 people already, and we've been on for 5 minutes.
God.
A whole 5 people.
I'm quitting my job.
So hello everybody, this is the Fruity Rumpus Asshole Podcast. We'll wait for a little bit before we get on the interview proper, but we have Michael Guy Bowman, the creator of Suburban Jungle and contributor to the Homestuck music team. Would you like to say hi, Michael?
Hello. Hi, Michael.
Good one. Okay. How about this? We give it 1 minute and then we can get started for real.
All right, in 1 minute.
5 more minutes. Just 5.
5 more minutes.
5 whole minutes. That's a whole long time, man. Nah, we're good. It doesn't. Okay. What do we got? Okay. 9 people. Okay. Jojo, you ready?
Yes.
Did you see my message, Jojo?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool.
I'm ready.
Yeah. I can't put it on the OHD because I got banned pretty early on.
Oh, I've been banned for about a month.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
I think it took me
it
took me like 2 hours to get banned on there when it first launched.
It did not. It did not take me long.
I think it's safe to assume they were trying to get rid of me from the moment they started it.
Well, I don't want to say it out loud, but Con, you were shit testing. You were definitely. You told me, and you were definitely shit testing.
Oh yeah. They were on the modifications. I threw out
quiet.
I know. All right, so I think we got enough people here to start.
Yay!
All right. So hello everybody, we have Michael Guy Bowman on. He is the creator of the world famous track Suburban Jungle. He's been a part of the Homestuck music team since 2009, or at least formally part of it. He's been there from the beginning. And we want him to tell us a little bit about his experience on the Homestuck music team, and then I give him the floor to talk about all this BS going on and let him clear it all up.
Yay, there's some bullshit going on. Whoa, we can curse, right?
Yeah.
Well, it would make sense if we couldn't curse because there is cursing in the screenshot. So yeah, kind of in an impossible situation.
Yeah, no, we're good with cursing. I try not to curse too much, but it's allowed. All right, Jojo, do you want to take it away?
Yeah. Well, we've already heard how Donk introduced you, but like, how would you introduce yourself?
Oh, I've had to write my bio for many different purposes lately. Yes, my name is Michael Guy Bowman, and I'm a musician, and I yes, I contributed a lot of music to Homestuck back during its original run. That's still the thing I'm best known for. There's no denying that. And I've done a lot of other music too, and I've done some comedy things. And I mainly think of myself as a musician. I got my fingers in a lot of different pots.
Hey, you do what you got to do. Keep hustling, you know.
Uh-huh.
All right. And when did you start reading MSPA?
Honestly, not long before Homestuck started. So I was aware of problems. And I was aware of webcomics in general back then. I was reading Ryan North and a couple other things. And, I've read like some really old stuff like Bob and George, the Sprite comic, and Kid Rad. So I knew about lots of stuff like that. And MSPA, MS Paint Adventures, right, was like very similar vibe, kind of like the next logical step. So I got into Problem Sleuth right at the end of it. And like they did like I think it was, geez, it feels like a week of updates that were just epilogue posts about Problem Sleuth. Which seemed exceptional at the time, seemed like a lot of content. Not knowing that Homestuck was going to be like way bigger in scale, only a little bit later. But during the period where it was just finishing up, actually, I think it was a whole month of epilogue stuff because I believe it was in March I read it. I can't remember quite. But yeah, I caught up with it in March, right before Homestuck started. And because of that, I was there right when the little announcement on Andrew's blog came out that was just like, if you're a musician and you'd like to be involved in what we're doing with the next comic, there's going to be animations and stuff. So that was the cold call. Yeah.
That's how that happened. I was wondering, like, did he have just like a little friend group? But no, he just picked some musicians out. But no, he just sent out a call to the community.
That was a full on like fan outreach thing. Yeah. So I thought that was like very groovy at the time,
How big would you say was the fan community at the time for MSPA?
It was already large. I could tell that the forum was already really, really active back when MS Paint Adventures had its own forum, the one that closed in 2015. Or was it early 2016? Right around that time. But it was busy in 2009 when I joined it. And I couldn't tell you how many people were using it, but I will say that there were enough people around that call for musicians resulted in like a private forum that ended up being the music management forum to open up that had like 50 people in it right off the bat, like a ridiculous amount. Most of whom were just like whoever, with limited skill sets to produce that ended up getting sadly petering out, pretty early on. But there were a lot of people.
I think that's way more than I thought.
Yeah, there may have been 40 people that were just aspiring musicians right at the top. It's kind of crazy.
So for like anyone who might not know, like what are your like contributions?
Okay, so Suburban Jungle real early on. That was like the big one for me. And I wrote a couple other things for the comic before that didn't get used. Like I wrote some stuff I think that's unreleased. I wrote Mechanic Panic, which ended up on a fan album later. But Suburban Jungle is, I think, the thing that got used right off the bat.
Yes, it did. So did you just kind of write that on a whim and and Andrew picked it, or did he point you out and say, I want you to make the intro. I want you to make the song for this Flash.
No, I didn't have that kind of resume. So the way it was working early on was like he was communicating with us every day. He was like in there. It was like him and Cindy were the only two people that were running the thing, and they were communicating with us on a daily basis. There's serial posters. I think this is hard for people to imagine because, in the years that have gone by where, everything's gone hush hush and behind this like big veil of secrecy or whatever with NDAs, blah, blah, blah. it's hard to imagine that Andrew once was just active in a forum and managing it, and that they were this constant presence who would like, shit talk and shit post and come at people and whatever. And the music forum was just the same. So Andrew would just come in and be like, I have a thing I want to have made. Can anybody do it? And then people would just like, post back and like have something like, here's a thing I'm working on. Do you think this will work? Oh, I got an idea. Do you think this will work? And that's literally what I did with Suburban Jungle. It was like, can you make something that sounds like the music from SimCity 4? And I was just like, yes, I'll do it. You busted my ass to get something posted as fast as I could. And it was good enough and it worked, Yeah, actually, the early version of it I posted was just like a loop because we were only doing loops at the time. So I think it may have been like one repeat of like the the major section with the theme and everything, and that was like roughly as long as the thing that's in the loading screen from S enter, and then I ended up once, because Andrew really liked it. After that was when I decided I would write a full version of it for the album release. And that ended up becoming the thing that was reused later for the Rose sequence in Act 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is that your favorite Homestuck song you've written? Or...
Oh, I don't know. I go through Bowman stuff. Let me grab the CD and look at the liner notes.
I have a favorite. It's an underrated.
You have a favorite.
Yeah,
What's your favorite?
I think my favorite is one Constant Conquest, which I think is your last one you did.
The last one I did for that.
Listen to it a lot. Yeah.
That was when I finally switched over and started using Logic Pro. I actually did everything except that for Homestuck in FL Studio, which is horrible. I mean, it's not a bad program, but at the time, I don't know how much they've improved the software since then. I've basically stopped using it. But at the time, it was really hard to manage multiple takes of audio, and it didn't really operate like a program that was for people that want to record lots of tracks. It was more like a program for people that want to synthesize beats and sequence synthesizers. And so its capabilities got more and more. I could feel the limit as I went on. It's great as a synthesizer program. It's great for automating in. I just found Logic Pro a lot easier after that. And so Constant Conquest was me like unleashing into a new program. So that one I do enjoy is like a transition to a different style of work. The other stuff, the other feathers in my cap with Homestuck were I got to collaborate with George Buzenkai with her track called Explore. That was the first, I think that's the first Buzenkai contribution. And then she went on and wrote Doctor. And I did the How Do I Live cover that's in the comic. That was I still play that at shows. People still enjoy singing along to it. I wish to God I could find that video of people singing it at Andrew who looks visibly uncomfortable.
Oh, is that the one? I
Like-
think I've seen it. Is that Andrew specifically while he's like taking questions at a con?
I've seen I've seen them answer questions that are like, oh, like, what are your experiences with fans? And it's like, oh, I don't like when they sing at me. You're right.
Yeah,
I can
I've seen
find that. But there was at some point an actual clip of like a crowd of people like singing at Andrew with Andrew. Like, I think they're at like a small press expo at like a tiny little table. With just some other people. Like, it's hard to imagine that there was this phase early on when Homestuck was kind of for indie comic people who were more like, let's make zines, let's use staplers, and not just like a general anime convention style crowd.
Yeah.
So seeing that crowd show up to this like thing and like, it looked like it could have been in a library or something, and sing right at Andrew was very funny. And it was funny for me too, because I could tell they were singing it the way I had to sing it in the song to accommodate for my range, and not the way, Trisha Yearwood sings it.
and you may, and I just like the idea of Andrew just getting really uncomfortable, just kind of like, I'm picturing him just kind of like squirming in his seat, looking down or
I
something.
I'm surprised. I mean, maybe I just figured like, oh, they're probably there with friends who didn't expect all this, so that's the embarrassing part. But
Dude,
it's fun. People want to sing the
freaking
song
out.
from the comic.
I'd be freaking out. I'm on Andrew with that one. I'd probably be like, oh my God. But that's just me
All
in
right.
public. I feel like if like 10,000 people, or not 10,000, but like 50 people started singing at me, I'd probably be like, uh,
Alex, do you ask the waiters to not sing Happy Birthday when you have
dude,
when you have your
I
birthday?
actually did that. I went to Texas Roadhouse and they get a whole saddle and everything. I was like, I don't want to do any of that. Leave me alone. Just give me my
No,
free
that would be
dessert.
me.
They sang at Texas Roadhouse. Maybe I
No,
should apply.
no, no, you
Texas
don't.
Roadhouse, they go they go crazy when there's a birthday. Ooh,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get like
Oh,
everybody in a whole parade, man.
that's what I should have done for my birthday. Damn, that was like
No,
2 days ago. I didn't even think to go to Texas Roadhouse. Mm.
Oh, happy belated birthday.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Oh, I'm wishing I had
Uh,
that biscuit now.
oh yeah, it's both of us. Yeah, it was your birthday like a couple days ago, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was mine
Oh,
too.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Uh,
I have one more of the getting to know you level questions.
Uh-huh.
Alex told me that you had a carapacian OC for Homestuck. Is that true?
Right. I should have mentioned the other major accomplishment here, at least of the highlights. I mean, I love all the songs, but that I got to do a solo album that was called Mobius Strip and Hadron Collido.
Mhm.
And so if you heard about the fake bands concept with Homestuck, has anyone explained that before?
I don't think I have heard that, and that's surprising. I've heard just about
so is it
everything.
like Sergeant Pepper?
Right, yeah. Like the initial concept would be with what we were going to do with the discography was just like, oh, there's going to be lots and lots of these fake bands roaming around in the world of Homestuck. So you'll see like pieces of merch here and there, and at one point you'll meet the characters, and then there'll be a spin-off album, And we sort of did that, but not to the extent that it was pitched. Um, like how like Square I'm gonna say them the wrong way around again. Square Wave and Sawtooth, the like hip
Oh,
hop
yeah.
robots.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were like the initial pitch like Andrew posted as like these two robots that are like robot rappers. Maybe we could do something with that. I don't think anybody was like completely down with that concept. And we didn't know what to do with it. But at one point, Andrew singled a few of us out and said, like, why don't you do solo albums? And you could do an album in whatever style makes sense for you. And then we'll pitch that as like a spin-off product of Homestuck, and it'll be a fake band that's in the comic. And they pitched, Andrew pitched that to me, Mark Hadley, Malcolm Brown, and I believe Bill Bolin as well. So this is real early on, like early 2010. Already, like we were impressing them enough with our work that was like floated as an idea, and I took it like really seriously. And it was just like, okay, I want to do something. I want to make something. So I spent the latter half of 2010 and the early part of 2011, increasingly involved in making this solo album. And because Andrew never gave me characters to work with, which is crazy, I had to pitch my own characters. In fact, it was my idea to come up with my own characters because it was like, hey, you want me to do this album? You're like, do it in your style, do like rock music or something. I was like, cool. What is the concept? Because, it has to work with the comics so that people will like know what it is when they see it. and Andrew kept being like, yeah, I'll get to that. And then never did,
Very hussy like.
in retrospect, yes, like there's a pattern of like big promises like that and then kind of like a flimsy delivery. But thankfully, there was an album. It did get released. I ended up developing these characters with my then girlfriend, Tavia Mora. And we developed our own Carapacian characters. We developed costumes for them. We developed a little one paragraph backstory that wasn't like too tied down so that it could potentially work with the comic. if they were used, right? And then it's just like these are, these are so loosely defined that the songs don't force you to like witness a musical or something. You're just going like these are like prophet these are prophet Carapacians that have like laid down their weapons and joined forces from opposing sides, Prosped and Durst, right? And these are their like visions, right? So like loose enough that it could get picked up in the comic. Ultimately, that didn't work out. Not a single song from Mobius Trip ever appeared in the comic. It was very not really promoted. It was released against Homestuck Volume 7. That kind of put a damper in people's interest in it. I'm glad in retrospect that its like reputation has grown over time, because I think a lot of people that were just used to video game music didn't know what to make of it, didn't know what to do with my early singing attempts, didn't understand the concept, and it's taken a while for this community around it to kind of get into it.
It took me a
But
while to like get you like when I read Homestuck, I was like really young, and when I was listening to all the music, I like clicked on that one, and I'm like, well, there's singing in this, and I was a dumb kid, so I didn't listen to it. But it took me a
there's a
while.
lot of people. I'm surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of people just don't want to hear that. Yeah.
but it took me a while to when I re-listened to it, like when I was older and less stupid, I was like, oh wow, this is actually really good, and I was like,
Thank you.
this is really cool as like the one lyrical album, because most of the lyrical songs on the actual Homestuck albums are the meme songs, like Game
Right.
Girl and stuff like that. It's like, but this is the one where it's like actually legit, and I was like, this is really
Yeah.
good, and I always felt like Fly would have been great for a Flash, and I'm like, you know what? Why not put a lyrical song on a Flash? And I just think it's really cool that you said that there's a lot of fake band ideas, and I'm sure that like if that idea came back, it would 90% be like troll characters, and I think it's really cool that they're
Yeah. Well,
Carapacians. It's really fun
it's
to
funny that
me.
you bring that up, because it's like, in between the time that this idea was floated to me, like do a solo album and we'll come up with special characters, and those characters will be in the comic. In between the time of that being originally pitched and me actually finishing this thing, out of nowhere, there's like a 12 song troll album that's all chiptune by Toby. And it's like, well, you gave one person like theme songs for like 12 characters, and now somehow they're the new main characters, which is bizarre. So that was like, I feel like I should have tried to guess what characters Andrew wanted to focus on and create, and just focus it around that, rather than take them at their word that they were going to use new characters that hadn't even been written.
So Toby's troll album came out before the trolls were even a thing?
No, they came out. I believe they came out just when the trolls were coming in the comic, but it was weird. It was like in it was in the summer of 2010. It was early,
Yeah.
like and it was a simpler concept. I took a really heavy, complicated concept that took way longer to finish. So I could have probably biffed it a little bit and been fine, but I did what I did because I wanted to make a like cool concept album, and I took it at the word that it's like, this is gonna be like Gorillas, these will be like full-fledged, high concept records that exist within Homestuck, sort of like what like League of Legends has turned into, yeah.
And I'm just really disappointed that this was, had no clue about this, and I'm disappointed that he didn't roll with that.
There were a lot of things we could have done with the music. There's like, each of the kids has an instrument, right? The idea was like, eventually we'll do a record that's like, sounds like what the kids like demo tape sounds like, and we're like seeding in their instruments one at a time. And then eventually they'll all combine Power Rangers style into this band. They're fun little things being set up all the time,
Yeah. I always wanted like something where all four of them were playing together or something. I always thought that it was kind of building up to that, because they did have John with the pipe organ at the end of Act 6. And I'm like, I always thought that was kind of, when they had the Play the Rain thing, I thought that was the direction it was going, where every kid had a solo page.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was,
Right.
and then it never happened.
Right. Like we could have given each kid a solo record. We could have given each character a solo record. Alice and I are big fans of Digimon, and that they've like put like out an EP for every character there. Like in the course
Yeah.
of like a year, that means there'll be like, if there's 8 Digidesks and there's 8 records just for each of them, and then there's bonus material. There's a million ways to franchise out the music and explore it. And fan musicians have subsequently come along and explored a lot of these ideas. And I honestly have to say, like, good for you. I think this is like, they're all doing what we know the project would have been capable of doing had it not suddenly ground to a very arbitrary halt right around late 2011, which is when the wall went up and it was like, actually, we don't need more music.
So we're gonna pivot a little bit talking about that. So I'm gonna pull up the
more questions
timeline.
Before we do that? Go ahead and pull up the timeline. Do we have any photos of the fan carapations available?
Yeah,
because I haven't seen them.
Yeah, you just look it up.
So you mean my characters? You mean Mobius Strip?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mobius Strip and Hadron Collider. If there's like old pictures, there was a digital booklet that we did at the time. It was pretty primitive. I ended up revamping it for the CD release I did myself recently. But, we designed these costumes. Tavia sewed it as a sewing experiment. We dressed up, we did makeup, we took these cool photos and edited it together. And you can see, and there's great fan art too. I still see fan art. Actually, Worthy Kids was a big fan of the record, and there's Worthy Kids fan art of Mobius Strip and Hadron Collider from like 2011. It's crazy,
Worthy, wow.
Worthy Kids was a fan,
That's actually crazy how like you get like how many people are influenced by Homestuck. I mean, you got
Yes.
I did not
look.
know
I've never
that,
listened to the to the other podcast of a similar name, but yes, Homestuck did indeed made this world. There are a lot of people that knew about this thing and experienced it at the time that have since moved on because of how hard things have ground to a halt.
Yeah, like so you got Worthy Kids, and then one that comes off the top of my head is Michelle Chakowski, who does Ava's Demon, and she does excellent work. And it's just like, it's crazy when you look back at these people and it's like, oh, you were there? You were there with us. Wow.
Everyone was there. Yeah. It's I did a 2011 Tumblr, freaking ground zero for like an entire giant shift in the culture. For better or for worse, who knows?
All right.
But you can't deny everyone was there.
So it's the second event on the timeline here, but the Volume 6 walkout. Can you explain that for people who don't know?
Okay, so the situation, and you described it some in the last visit, but like it's hard to like get some perspective. This is like the first major thing that maybe dented my relationship with Andrew and what pumpkin or whatever you want to call the general assembly of official people that run Homestuck. It's now a myriad of 5 shell companies or whatever, right? But there was a period where I was not particularly paying attention to the music because I was just trying to like figure out Mobius Strip, and I was like being real hard on myself and devoting my attention to that, devoting my attention to college, all this other stuff. So when I got involved on Volume 6, where I made my really silly cover of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, and submitted it like usual, and we were planning to put out the album release, we got our contract. We do a contract for each record. So it's a separate royalty scheme for each record. The music, they have permission to use in the comic. That's like tacitly implied by submitting it on the forum. But each album has to have a negotiated split of the earnings so that we know what money goes to the musicians and what money goes back to the label. That's what happens everywhere. And it was done as a percentage, it was like, 50-50 basically is like 50% goes to Andrew, 50% goes to us, right? Well, with Volume 6, we got a weird contract where it's like, hey, we don't have time to do the accounting right now, so we want to give you a lump sum that's estimated to be what you might earn in a year, just to save everybody time. and to be with the option to be renegotiated in a year. And I thought
to be
with the
Okay.
option,
is
yes, with
such
the
a trap.
option to be renegotiated in a year. And it's
Never,
like,
never
right.
believe that.
They would
If you
they
get a
would
job
just
that says with the option to get hired on, they're not hiring you on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's not a promise, right? It's like why sign anything if it's not a promise? And my dad's in the musicians union. They had the ASCAP book laying around on the shelf. I'm not as versed in the bylaws of how people that are union musicians might make their choices, but I know enough to know when somebody's trying to screw you. And I saw that and went like, nobody should sign this, and this was there was like a kind of like, there were secondary channels with which we just talked to each other as musicians. And I told everybody, like, don't sign this deal. It makes no sense. Don't you want the money? Right? Because consider how much bigger Homestuck was at the end of 2010, which is when this happened, to the end of 2011, right? We're talking about, it
Double.
goes from crowd of people. Yeah, it goes from like thing you know about on the internet to crowd of people singing at Andrew to, 100 cosplayers on the stairs of Anime Expo, right? Fast. And you could tell it was mounting. So for us to be like told like, hey, now that we're earning a lot of money, it's actually too hard to count it all. You guys are going to have to take a pay cut, was ridiculous.
Yeah. And then,
yeah.
Judging by the growth at the time, I mean, that the growth was, as far as I can tell, the growth was massive. That was a little bit before I came in. If they gave you that lump sum, I mean, that's just horseshit. It's like what you might make, but
right.
It's growing, and then that's all your and then you get residuals, like for the next 10 years.
Residuals, royalties,
all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the option to renegotiate, like, hey, that doesn't mean we'll necessarily screw you in the future, but it kind of does, doesn't it? Because there's no guarantees after a year, right? So I don't want to have to renegotiate each time. Why not just figure it out now? Especially if you're going to have to do the math anyway. Well, let's just use the actual math. It's not that hard to use Excel. Everybody does it every day to make every business work. Why should we be, holding ourselves to like, ridiculous, like, oh, I'm a small bean that can't use Excel, when like we just reached the point where suddenly thousands of dollars are coming in on each record. It's crazy.
So
I'll point out that just real quick, I'll point out that Homestuck was the biggest label on Bandcamp during this period, which seems hard to believe, but there used to be a little top 5 list of all the top albums on Bandcamp on the bottom of the page, and it would be like 3 Homestuck albums, an illegal Zelda dubstep record, and the Alabama Shakes every time. We were on top. We were doing really, really good, So it was a weird time to say, actually, we need to get tight with the pennies,
So what was Andrew's response?
There was some argument, and it caused Volume 6 to be delayed from its initial scheduled release date of January 1. So if you've ever wondered why it came out on a really weird day of the week that it didn't make sense to come out on, it's because it was supposed to be a New Year's Day release. And we did back and forth with everybody for a few days. So many of the musicians had walked on the contracts that it was like impossible for them to ignore it. About the only person that seemed really like, well, I think you need to give Andrew a chance, was Toby, which was super fucking annoying.
So what did he say?
Just, the thing I remember Toby saying was like, hey, I don't think anybody should treat this like a job, which is a line you hear time and time again about how everybody kind of needs to give up their share back to this company, which is ridiculous. And super ironic because ultimately the only person that ended up having a job out of all of us was Toby in the end. So I think I think that was more of a statement from their personal friendship rather than a statement of what your expectations should be if you're a person aspiring to make a career off of music, which, everybody here is aspiring to make a career. It's not just, fun and games. There was money involved, and we were becoming more prolific and more dedicated the more we got out of it. That's a career.
Do you think he had that? First of all, how did you guys communicate? Mostly through forums or like, I don't know, I was
Right,
pretty
right, right.
young, and I
Yeah,
was like, what was the internet chat client?
there was
AOL? Was this before?
there.
Was after
This would be AIM is no longer relevant. Skype is though
Skype?
because you can do video calls, and this is before Skype became so terrible and awful to use that Discord took over. So there was a Skype channel, right? That's the main way people were talking in real time with each other, and then there was the forum, which was more slow communication, right? And the slow communication is the main way we had access to Andrew at the time, given that Andrew was like a constant poster, somebody that was super online and ready to respond at you, and you'd be refreshing the page to see if anybody was going to like say anything to you. But the like organizing musicians part mostly happened on Skype. And then it was within the forum that we would have to wait on official responses from Andrew.
Do you think?
And eventually, yeah.
Do you think
Go
this
ahead.
was around the time Toby had that personal friendship with Hussey? That's why he may have given that response.
Yeah,
then
I don't know
I got one more.
exactly when that started. Yeah.
And then do you think he might have had another contract, a different contract than you guys's? If you
Possibly.
don't know an answer, you don't have to answer that.
I don't have an answer for that, but I do. I'm not as familiar as everybody else is with Toby lore. But to the best of my recollection, as I look back at like what remains of communications from 2010, it's like Kobe was just another guy hanging out. He was actually a later inductee to the music team. He was like a fan musician that had been let into the project. And then at some time he got cozy with Andrew that year. I remember one of my communications with Andrew on Skype being like, oh yeah, Toby's like pretty cool. Toby's like really fast, and being like, okay, you don't have to tell me you're in love. But that was kind of annoying, but I could tell that like a personal angle was building there that kind of superseded, the deal that the rest of us had. And that was super annoying that eventually it did become a wedge by which we were all expected to like, especially that like whole, like, don't treat this as a job. It's like, well, you don't have to treat this as a job because, now out of nowhere, somebody you didn't know a year ago is your best friend. And now you're going to go live in their house. You have an insane deal that nobody else has. So don't tell us to like negotiate for less. That's crazy.
How old was Toby at the time?
I was going to ask that. Yep.
Toby's like 2 years younger than me. So, 19. Right?
Yeah, of
like,
course, 19-year-olds like
Fresh out of high
right?
school.
We'll treat this as a job.
Right. Like,
He's never worked a job. He's 19, Like,
to give you some perspective, that was the year I was graduating early from college and going, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to get serious about finding work and finding money because the free ride's fucking over. So to have this, like, have somebody with free room and board, like telling me how to like, telling me how to pursue finding a buck really sucks,
Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel that.
yeah. So fast forwarding, so he eventually becomes the manager of the music team, right, Toby?
Right. Yeah. That was like August, I think, August of 2011, where it was just like, okay, they're hanging out. They know each other. Like Andrew's like tightening the project up and making it into, and we understood that Andrew was getting like more and more busy writing the comic. So the communications were becoming less and less and less, Eventually this person that we like talk to every day is just never around. And they say like, Toby's in charge, go through Toby. And it becomes impossible to get any music approved. The album, you can see that the album release goes from like, we're releasing 2 records a month and they're like on top, right, to we're releasing something every couple of months, and hey, let's do a contest where like fans get to submit music, but we'll get to whatever you guys want to do later, so that
That was
Other
Colors and
division.
Mayhem.
Started
right.
put you guys out the pasture, basically.
Yeah, we all knew we were getting put out. Everybody knew this. We started like having to think about like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna capitalize on our like presence online or whatever. And so it kind of stunk because we all knew we were basically on the way out. And we knew that for a long time before eventually Cherubim was just it. And like everybody knew nothing else was coming because nobody, you know, it went from being like, yeah, put something out there. Like, let's make this the biggest, craziest collaboration ever to like, I don't know if we need that. I don't know if we need to release that, you know? And so, you know,
I think you've said
a lot of bad news after that point.
I think you've said before that the system became that basically what Andrew would do is that he would have something in mind and he would just directly ask someone to make the song instead of picking from the music team library. And that person ended up being Toby most of the time, but also other people too, right?
Yeah, so it went from being this crazy free for all to like competitively get your like art made to like probably sort of what it should have been the whole time, which is just picking people and giving them assignments. But then all the assignments just went to like, you know, a couple of people. And so the collab was kind of over. And then it was just like, now I got to buddy up to the like, you know, person that's the czar of this or that thing and see if I can get the word on like what might be in the work. So, you know, it sucked that everything went behind closed doors because I thought I did well, you know, dumping a million things out there and seeing what got picked to get used, you know, just fine. But once the channels to directly communicate with Andrew evaporated and I had to go through a filter, it was like, you know, it was a lot harder to stay involved.
Do you think it was everyone on the music team or just you?
Oh, everyone was frustrated. You know, they're kind of shy talking about this. Like, oh, you know, were we nice enough? Did we beg hard enough? But no, everybody like at the time was talking about like, dude, kind of sucks that like this is all becoming, you know, a one-man show and we have to suck up to that one guy to like, you know, get in on the project and you know, and the albums, which are the like this bonus content that kind of motivates you to stay involved even if you're not getting a thing in the comic or whatever, are all gone. So like what's the project? Are we like just fan musicians now, you know? And it is kind of what we ended up all becoming. It's like, well, I guess we're just really well celebrated fan musicians, you know. Instead of collaborators, which is what we were, you know. It's like it's basically we felt a downgrade in our like significance to the project and kind of eventually after Cherubim, this like soft firing that was really a ghosting. I like to think that at this point, that was the first time I was just, you know, let go basically, which is just like, no other music is being asked for. There's no other projects. I guess I'm done. And I'm just supposed to know that even though nobody's here to be polite enough to say like, hey, listen, you know, we're not feeling this anymore. I want to just buckle down. That would have been a sad thing to hear, but I would have appreciated the polite gesture of saying like, hey, you know, this doesn't work anymore, you know?
It's basic manners, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It might have been easier to move on, you know?
Yeah.
It
sucks.
I mean, it's like getting ghosted at an interview after an interview. It's like that little no closure and that pain that you feel and the rejection. I don't know.
Right. Well, you know, we're really early on in this timeline. You got it on the screen, right? So Volume 6 thing. So for me, a major event in 2012 was that in August that year, I met Andrew in person. And I sent you a little video. It's a sketch I made that includes footage of the time that happened. The sketch is called Bowman Can't Catch. It's me running around across America trying to catch a football. Very funny sketch. Very funny, very, very happy. Okay. But the bit in this that's relevant... Yeah, is that about 2 minutes in there, you see me run past Andrew, who I've given a frozen pizza to. Okay, so that and they were nice enough to agree to that, right? So this was the result of a road trip that first took me to Otakon in Baltimore that year. And then at the time I was living with Clark Powell and she told me like, oh, you know, I actually DM Andrew all the time. You want to go meet Andrew? And I was like, you've been DMing Andrew this whole time? Like, you never mentioned that before.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, because it seems like Clark had a lot of involvements in later Homestuck. Clark did.
Right.
Act
Clark,
7,
who's still involved in Cyclonials and stuff.
Cyclonials,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she lived in my house at the time and never mentioned that, like, oh yeah, I've got Andrew on the horn all the time. Like, really? Like, how has this never come up? There are a lot of things like that where people were trying to keep each other from getting the break they had. It's kind of culty, you know, like people are like trying to win favors with, you know, like their freaking
Yeah.
idol here, you know.
And
But they had the grace to say like, "Well, come meet Andrew." So this time it's me and Clark and Tavia on this road trip. So this is the one time I actually got to see Andrew in person, and we didn't talk about very much. We gave them the frozen pizza as a joke. You know, they thought that was really funny. And then, but I did say like, hey, so like we're like a couple years into Homestuck. When this started, you thought it was going to be 1 year long. Now it's been 3 years. You know, do you know what's in the future? Like, are you going to do anything after this? Like, how much longer do you want to be at this? And vaguely they were like, after this, I want to make a video game. And I was like, cool, that sounds like a great move. Like, is there a place for me on that game? And they were like, yeah, I want to bring back everybody, you know? So that was the like in person, like, great. I've told them I want to stay involved, you know, there's a plan to keep me involved. I felt like, cool, you know, like there's a future here. The fact that was just another, like, you know, telling me what I wanted to hear, kind of like, oh yeah, we'll do that, sucks, because that, you know, I was kind of broke. That was an expensive road trip, and it was a long way to go just hear kind of just a nice lie, you know.
oh
Yeah,
man.
he was.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was being polite, I guess, but it was. I mean,
No, that's not
that-
being polite.
Right, but when
That's
you're
being a liar.
I know.
right, but you said that in a
Yeah.
job interview when they say we'll call you in a week, and then they, you know, and then it's been 10 years, you don't like go
this
like,
was before the
maybe
Kickstarter
they're gonna
started,
call
right?
me, you know.
This is before the
Um,
Kickstarter started
Yeah,
officially.
so that's before the Kickstarter. A month later,
Yeah.
this Kickstarter starts, and I'm going like, okay, is that the thing I'm going to be involved in? And like, no call ever comes for that.
Did you ever get his phone number?
The cherub.
Like
No,
while you were there?
nope,
Oh.
Nope.
Did you ask for it?
no. I should have.
Honestly,
You're
that's
saying
probably
smart
what-
things. You're saying like, hey, persist. Honestly, I probably should have. I think pretending like, oh, their time is more important than mine is a hell of a way to get nothing you want. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't.
no, I'd agree,
Yeah.
man.
It-
Now, why don't we keep going down the timeline?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
we all know how the Kickstarter ended
Yeah.
up. We're still
Yes.
waiting on the release, but
It's
Then we
never
get to the next
ended. That's what's insane.
the Infinity Kickstarter.
It's 14 years. 14
Um,
years, a long time, you know.
truly,
I mean, it
We
is
still
interest-
owe everybody all the other parts of the game.
It is interesting. I mean, for the we're gonna jump down to the recent stuff because we're kind of at the halfway point. But
Okay.
I do want to touch that it is interesting that, you know, because he kind of directly commissions more music, that's kind of how it becomes his style. And during this period, it becomes James Roach who does most of the Homestuck music. And
James Roach. Yes. Colors
James-
and Mayhem contest winner James Roach.
Right. So that's where Roach
Uh-huh.
came from the music team, and then for a while he ran Homestuck.
No, but it was an extremely surprising pick because James was hostile to all of us back in the day, repeatedly made rude remarks to people, was constantly in fights with like musicians, notorious for sending people death threats all the time. Nobody wanted to be involved with James except I don't know, Andrew and Toby for some reason. So one way or another, they got on this project and somehow managed to be running Homestuck during this weird revival period. Where
yeah. Your description of James's interactions, those are pretty close to the interactions I've had with James over the internet.
Wait,
but
you had interactions with James? Come on.
talked to him. Yeah,
What?
I might have trash talked him a few times.
Why? Wait, I mean, not why, but like when? Like, it's like on
And
Twitter?
where?
He was at SACON. He was
You
there
went
for a
to-
little bit.
Oh, stuck at
Yeah.
HomeCon. And what were you doing? Were you
Yeah.
like in the chat trolling?
I was in the chat, and then I might have been trolling a little bit, but then someone just said "Ha Roach," and then he left the server and never came back.
Wow.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like he did a lot to rehabilitate his image. Is seemingly professional during the revival period here, where out of nowhere, like Homestuck 2 is back and he's in charge, which is sort of confusing because it's like, hey, it doesn't Homestuck belong to Viz at that point. How are you involved? Your connection was Andrew, but he put on a pretty polite face around.
Well, yeah, clearly he did something to get himself back in the good graces. But we're not on.
It's hard to say. He's another person I have met only one time, and the time that I met him, I believe, was in 2016. And it was at a convention. He has this whole shtick about how like he only wants to talk to one person at a time. So there's a table you have to know about to go talk to him. And somebody took me to the table, and he was really surprised to see me there. Didn't know what to say when I said like, "Hey, I couldn't help but notice that you're doing music for Hive Swap. How on earth did you get that gig?" And his answer to me was like, "Well, nobody else applied." Which is the craziest lie I had been told like so far. Maybe the craziest one because it was to my face, It's like, well, what do you think me driving to frickin', Andrew's like hovel was about,
Was he running Homestuck when you guys did the first Requiem?
Okay, so the first Requiem was run by Viz, I believe. So ownership of the publishing rights to Homestuck still belong to Viz. I don't know what the rest of everything was. I don't know who was running the Bandcamp at the time, which is weird because that was during the period where the Bandcamp was all messed up. Everything was on a discount. All the albums were combined and a bunch were missing. That was blamed on Viz. So it's not completely clear who was running what, and they were still, the same people were still paying us occasionally, sending us the royalties that we were promised. But the official story is, Andrew was no longer involved in Wet Pumpkin at the time, and the publishing rights were with Viz, whatever. So that Requiem thing was a deal between Viz and the Requiem with a couple of familiar faces involved. For whatever reason, I'm not completely clear how that happened. But then by next year, that's when everything turned around. And it was suddenly this new... there's so many teams, the HSBC or whatever. It's super hard to follow.
Now, just for some context, so from our last part where we had the walk-in to now when around the time James Roach and the HSBC is going on, you have had no... contact with the Homestuck team, and you've done nothing for them.
Yeah, right. So let me look at the timeline here. See, this is why we have it. Okay, Cherubim is 2013, March 2013. The Requiem collab is announced in March 2023. That is 10 solid years where I had no contact, no way to contact anybody involved in the project. I had contact with... I only had contact with Cindy, who sends out the checks for the music, patting myself on the back for making that deal. But other than that, like, this is a 10-year drought where I don't even know Andrew's email. There's no forum. That's been gone since 2016, whatever, So the Requiem collab getting organized was even kind of interesting to me because I was going like, ooh, I'd love to get out and play my songs at a freaking fan event. That would be cool. And through friends of friends talking to each other, they came up with the idea of inviting me and gave me like an hour set on April 13, which was really cool.
Yeah.
That was the kickoff. That was like my first involvement in anything officially sanctioned by Homestuck in 10 years. All the other albums that came out, mysteriously, they went over the weirdness with the organizing Volume 10 with you. Alice explained some of it. But all those other records, the Pester Quest, Hive Swap, none of that stuff they'd ever felt the need to call me for. One way or another, it got organized without me. And I know that seems like I have a big ego, but I feel like, when you're talking about nostalgia projects that revive past collaborators, it is odd to leave my name out of a list that includes other people I know and remember from back then. So that was weird to me. So it was nice to be back. And I was actually planning on meeting James Roach again that day, but suddenly they decided they couldn't make. Don't know what to make of that.
Yeah,
completely.
he never made any of the
Right.
Requiems or any of the live
Yeah.
events. Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, there was like, "Oh, I'll be there. And it's like, I can't make it. It's like,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because you don't want another really awkward meeting with me, dude.
Was it really that awkward, that meeting you had with him?
Yeah. Yes, it was super awkward because,
You were like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, COVID with the.
Well, we weren't
sideboard
friends,
dancing.
I was just like, hey, it's you, the guy that shit talks everybody all the time. I'm going to politely ask you who the hell you think you are. And they politely lied back to me. It was a weird interaction.
The thinly veiled hostility.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He does
What
like
was it?
shit posting. He did like talking with people on Twitter a lot. I remember those days.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's kind of, as much as I'd love to talk about James Roach for an hour.
No, I really don't want to, but he is sadly involved. So the
Yeah.
James Roach comeback, a lot of people give it a lot of credit because it was a lot of nice stuff that should have happened a long time ago. The sequel comic comes back. It's more consistent now. There's a better team behind it.
It's not shitty.
Yeah.
It's not a turd.
Right. And at some point in the timeline, you can see here around December, this promise of this like best of vinyl, right?
Mm.
Now, this is a James announcement, and I'm like going like, ooh, Homestuck on vinyl. I hope I'm involved. Now, you may go like, oh, Suburban Jungle. I love Suburban Jungle. I take for granted it will be on such a vinyl. They talk about it like people are going to have to vote, and there's never a poll. They just say, well, we're going to take a vote, but without providing any like way of voting. And I'm going like, this feels like another engineered situation where mysteriously something that James manages will be something I have to go through a back channel to get involved in, right? The same way I had to talk to people who talk to people to get involved in the Requiem at all, right? So I went out stumping like, hey, like put me on, don't forget to say how much you love Suburban Jungle. And people are like, why would you say that? Like, we love that track, nobody cares. Like, it's going to be on there. Why would you think you wouldn't be involved? So I'm trying to be coy and not express any lingering suspicion or paranoia at this point. I'm just trying to coyly like, well, there have been things I haven't been involved in, and it would be a shame, So that was the beginning of my experience with that stuff.
Yeah. So
and then
eventually the vinyl doesn't happen. It's one of those.
Right. The vinyl doesn't happen. It gets shifted to being volume 1 through 4 because they can, because they don't really want to actually take a poll.
I think that's a good way to do it.
They talk about asking around.
Just release the whole volumes out. That's probably the
release
best way.
the actual stuff. We should have done it probably 10 years ago when the audience was gigantic and would have snapped it up. It would have been a very profitable move.
I think it could still, even today, it could still be good because vinyls are like really big now.
Vinyl's the like main format people want for physical. It's ceremonial anyway, and it's more fun than having a CD. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally buy that album. I just got a record player, so I want it. I want to put it. I would love to see the art and put it up on my wall.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So
let's fast forward to
let's keep going.
October 3rd, 2024. So this is the earliest screenshot included. Oh, okay. So this is a screenshot included, not an actual. So,
okay. October 3rd, 2024. That is when.
Okay.
That is when we're talking about Hussey saying the musicians collect more money than him on Formspring. I believe that was some kind of joke from 2012, a long time ago, right? This is an ancient joke he made about like, oh, they're all rich and I'm just meager little me. And it's a funny and weird joke to make when the deal,
all jokes,
right?
It was like all like that's where the Vriska is.
That's where Fat Vriska comes from and all that. Yeah.
It's like all that. And then
Yeah, he doubles down constantly on his, sexual obsession with Vriska. Like it's just the water. It's literally every other joke on there.
That's not
But
gonna be
in there is,
relevant.
yes, a joke about how we're all rich and Hussey's like broke and we're screwing up. It's
that
weird.
comes up later.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
you tweet about the Bandcamp being out of order, and then you email Sydney about royalties, which they pay. So I guess they just forgot about it.
Right. That was a year without royalties, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We'll get on it." Cindy has been good as a liaison about taking care of things when asked. I think it's weird to be the only person who asks, but you can see because of the stuff that happened back in 2010 that it matters to me, and that I know that I'm inevitably going to have to like go out and stick my neck out in places that might be awkward,
I get your back. Do what you need to
right.
do.
Okay, so October 26, 2024. Okay, so this is where it's been like almost a complete year since this vinyl has been promised. At one point, they sent us a little letter, like a bunch of the musicians, a letter being like, "Are you interested in being involved in the vinyl?" I said yes. That was like real early in 2024, but nothing's been done about it. So one day I'm just like, okay, they're blowing smoke. I'm just going to complain about it on Twitter because why shouldn't I? Our music is misrepresented. This new team that's the Beyond Canon team, which has taken over from Viz, because I believe we figured out that the Viz deal was over, but we weren't sure who this new team was. To me, it appeared as if James owned the comic now, which turned out not to be the case. It turned out that Andrew now owned the comic again.
But he was letting
but I was
James
just
run it.
Yeah. But was letting James run it with no announcement that, Andrew's back, everybody. You figure that would have been newsworthy, right?
I think he wanted to hide the fact that the Viz deal fell through. Because basically when Viz got a hold of the comic, the first thing Viz did was fire everyone on HiveSwap.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it must have been like, I don't know why, they must have just realized. I mean, I don't want to talk about the Viz thing, but like it just feels bizarre to me that I think I've heard the claim that like the Viz deal required Andrew to make a certain amount of money for them, and they did not, or something.
Right. It was probably hard to market, and they had to give up.
Yeah.
So James is the figurehead of the return of Andrew that is totally unannounced, but it turns out a lot of people already knew about because they've been making deals on random merch things. These are the deals that became FRAP. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I complained publicly about the Bandcamp being a mess. I complained about how, like, hey, it's weird that there's this big promise about a vinyl, but it's not going through. Promises. When's the Bandcamp, which is supposed to look a certain way according to the contracts we negotiated years and years ago, right? There's no such album as Homestuck Volume 1 through 4 plus 5 plus Midnight Crew. This is made up, right? This is not a real deal. You have to fix it or you're violating a deal. And I just raised a stink because it seemed like nobody would respond unless I did it in public. So I do. And that's when I got in touch with James in person. James reaches out to me and says, like, hey, Andrew's in charge of Homestuck now, so don't come blaming me. And we can't make that vinyl because we can't get in touch with all the musicians. And that includes Malcolm Brown, who wrote Showtime, right? Mm-hmm. It's impossible to find Malcolm Brown.
Was that true?
No, it turned out to be very easy to find Malcolm Brown the next year when they made the pilot and Showtime is the only song in it. They weren't even trying, clearly,
Right. Are you in touch with
I pointed,
Malcolm?
Yeah, I asked, hey, what kind of deal did you get last year? And they told me that. It's like, yeah, it was fast. It was easy, It's like, cool, thanks. I guess you're just right here and nobody even really tried to get in touch with you. So yeah, I that's my gauge for how hard this vinyl project was actually being pursued. The other weird thing is the contracts that we signed are not Bandcamp exclusive. What Pumpkin would release the albums in any format as long as they maintain the splits, So I don't see why you need a new deal with James of all people, unless What Pumpkin is not party to this and this is some sort of separate shell company releasing.
That brings an interesting question. The deals you signed was under What Pumpkin. I'm surprised they never said, "Oh, well, because What Pumpkin is gone, we don't have to honor the deal anymore." I'm surprised they never pulled that move.
Well, so What Pumpkin owns the like albums themselves, but we own the tracks, right?
Oh, okay,
And
right.
the deal is they can release our tracks on the albums through, yeah, right? They can release the compilations. Our solo albums, they're just like, yeah, post your own solo albums. You own all the tracks, so you own the whole record, right?
Does What
But like
Pumpkin
Homestuck,
exist as a company still?
oh, freaking hard to assess, honestly. That's why I have this all laid out because it's a mess. But yeah, the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, and James stalled me and said, "I'll get in touch with Andrew about your concerns," and then didn't. Anyway, in the meantime, yeah,
You actually got in contact with Andrew before James Roach got back to you, right?
right. So around this time, I'm in touch with a lot of people. James says, "I don't see why you haven't just released all your music on a CD," and I said, "Bet." And made Bowman Stuck, cleared it with everybody, including Toby, and put it out. Somebody gave me Toby's email. Toby was real polite about it. I'm like, okay, great. Whatever happened back in the day, water under the bridge. We got this thing out now. Yeah, you can see in the doc, that was the beginning of 2025. That was my wedding year. Alice helped with the release. Okay, and so then we're into the third year of the Requiem Cafe collab, and I'm like super hyped to go back, and I'm like let's do this again. You guys got the same deal going on, and they're like, not quite. They're like being iffy about it this year. And I'm going like, gee, I wonder why. Is it because like James won't give me the time of day and doesn't want to like do anything that'll platform? And he expressed some other complaints that were the public ones, right? That's my assessment. But the public complaints is like, oh, they made a deal with a tattoo truck. I don't want minors getting tattoos. Dude, minors can't get tattoos. It's against the law. That's not on them.
Show a fucking ID.
Right. It's like, oh, I heard the building got inspected at some point. It's like, yeah, buildings get inspected. Buildings get fumigated. What are you saying here? They tried to trash the Requiem's reputation in public, basically. And then also at the same time, we're announcing, and we're doing a different collaboration this year with Honey and Butter, which is a nice little macaroon shop about, like across town over in Irvine, like not far, just another place in Orange County, right? And this place is in a mall. It's just a bakery with the collab items for sale. There is no stage, there is no event, there is no programming, and they brag about that in their Reddit post explaining their decision making, where they very pointedly are saying, this isn't an AMA, there is not going to be a concert, this is just a fun little thing. Going like, okay, so you're like, pretty openly saying like, there ain't gonna be no Octopimp QA, there ain't gonna be no Bowman show.
Yeah, because Octopimp
I don't even see why you want that.
Octopimp existed. Jeez, thank you for reminding
me. Oh
me.
yeah, the mysterious unpersoning of Octopimp that was involved in these emails. I don't even know where to start with that.
So
like,
yeah,
who knows what the hell happened?
We don't have to get into that. That sounds like a
huge that's another giant mystery. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So around this time, a very mysterious thing happened, which is I found Andrew's email on a piece of merchandise. And you can figure it out yourself. But I found Andrew Hussey's email and sent him a cold call. And suddenly I'm in touch. And it's like, hey, I didn't know you were around. I'd heard some rumblings about this Bandcamp thing you're talking about. We can work something out. And I'm like, Andrew's really reasonable. It may just be James is a dick. And I've had Andrew all wrong this whole time because they're talking to me like real fast. And it's just like, oh, I'm curious what you're up to. So we start seeing some changes. The Bandcamp starts getting fixed. A bunch of solo albums are back. All right. You can see that in the March 29th thing there. Strife is missing. Squiddles is missing. Wonders is missing. The combined albums are all still combined. I'm like, hey, you kind of only barely did the work, on April 1. It's like I can give you like a full list, like to like get it back to like the way it used to be. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'm getting to it, right? And then nothing. And I email Cindy. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then nothing.
Theme. Promises and then nothing.
Right. This is my first contact with Andrew in 12 years, by the way. And once again, the ghosting has started, just as I've magically, through a complete Hail Mary, gotten in touch. And by the way, James emails me around this time to be like, oh, I was gonna send you to Andrew, but I guess you found your own way to communicate. Which is like, sure, you were gonna contact Andrew. I so believe you.
Well, then why couldn't Roach just give you the email?
Why didn't they? You know, if they cared so much about this, and I mean, it's their music too, you know, but whatever. Anyway, I did the Requiem that year. A month goes by and no changes on the Bandcamp, even though they said like a week, we'll have it done in a week. And then suddenly Andrew's got this photo set, you know, on Instagram, and it's like, hey, after being like missing from the public, suddenly you're doing the clown thing again, and you're hanging out and taking e-boy shots.
Did you say that to him?
With the Briska and the fidget spinners? Or is that a different
the Minion
shirt? It might have been. It might have been the no. These are just new e-boy pictures with like expensive looking clothes.
This from last year,
right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this isn't serious. Fuck this, you know. Like, I'm just getting hussied again. You know, I'm out. You know. Also, like, not long later, James emails me one of the screenshots that ends up in the K-Pie email, which is the Octo one, and says, look, you can't be like this. Apologize now, because nobody wants to work with you. And I'm like, well, I don't apologize. I think you are like deliberately trying to undermine me, and I don't feel like I owe you an apology. So effectively, my relationship with Homestuck ended there, right?
That sounds fair enough, yeah.
Right? And but then, you know, James is out on his ass like a month later. So
yeah. So James left or was outed,
right.
Or what? I don't know what happened there, but
right. And then slowly we start seeing this like period where like, okay, Andrew is openly back, right? Yeah. There's right, a lot of shit happens over the summer. The FRAP forum starts, you know. I do a little concert at in Morgan Hill. It's called Prom Stuck. A lot of the people there are like talking about their deals. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can glaze that for a bit, it's a great concert. Everyone should watch it. It's on YouTube. It's on Michael Guy Bowman's
thank
YouTube
you.
channel. I think it's awesome. It's dope. They did recently NYC Stuck and it would have been great if you were there, if you could have had a big crowd for that. Honestly, I think it would be awesome if like even more Homestuck musicians came on that do live, that are okay with performing live.
I would have loved to have done something like I used to do, where I bring in other people. Yeah,
that would have been so dope. But yeah, I mean, you can keep going. But I just want to say, everyone check that out because I liked it a lot.
Eric Tensei, you know, get on it. You know, figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, does Tensei play live? Next time you could do the.
No, it doesn't. None of them do it, which is too bad because you know they're all talented. You know.
Yeah, but it'd be dope. Anyways, you can keep going.
Okay, yeah. So this is around the time lots of weird stuff happens. There's the simultaneous announcement of the animated pilot. With this is also the period that the UHC has to give into what is a DMCA, is a copyright strike. I don't really understand, but at the same time as the pilot being announced, there's this shitstorm over. Once again, they're trying to shut down the unofficial Homestuck collection. So that's a crazy day of discourse.
Yeah.
On that same day, you know, realizing now that a cartoon, this whole time that like all this stuff has been happening, a cartoon pilot, which probably took a year, like make, right? Minimum. Who knows how long the deal took to make. Been going on, and every single person I've emailed has probably known about this and not mentioned it to me. You know, that's when I go like, okay, well, you know, they've officially told me they don't want to work with me. They're ghosting me on things they said they want to fix. So like, why am I like, you know, like maintaining any sense of like, oh, they're going to call me any day now. So I just said like, well, I guess, you know, Suburban Jungle's not going to be on the show, which started its own little miniature firestorm on Twitter.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going like, why would you think that? Why would you think that? And this is about the time I started to try to be more public. I talked a little bit before to some people, but this is when I started trying to be more public about like, you know, they've been trying to keep me from being involved in projects for years. You know, some of the stories I'm having to recount to you, I started trying to be more public about, being like, yeah, I think they're just going to try to ice me out, like get ready for a cartoon with no Suburban Jungle, because it doesn't seem like they have any plan, to involve anybody. The Malcolm Brown involvement seems like rather last second as well. Out of nowhere, they did manage to find that email to clear the music for the show at like the last second, which is weird because certainly it was being animated with the music in mind before it was cleared. Anyway, that's its own weird thing.
Yeah, I don't like that timeline, but go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in this new period where there's an official Homestuck Discord. It is competing with the unofficial Discord that has been, up until this point, the largest community. It's a notorious community, but it's nonetheless the largest community. And there's the official Discord is weird. They don't talk about me on there. They censor conversations about me because they know that people are going to be like, hey, what's with the Suburban Jungle thing? Is it true that the musicians walked out on volume 6? Blah, blah, blah. And they're shutting down every conversation about me if they can. And then, so I'm just talking freely in other places because I'm like, well, here's the official community. I guess I'm not involved, and I guess they're not serious about fixing anything. Then finally, we get to where K-Pi actually emailed me for the first time in September 2025.
Can I say something? Ask a question
yeah.
about that? What the fuck is K-Pi?
Nobody. I asked them who they were and how I would know that, right? There's like, hey, you got to shut up about Homestuck. You got to stop, tweeting about it if you want to ever have the chance to be involved. I'm like, who are you? Well, like, I don't know who you are. This is a Proton Mail. This is an obvious burner account, and they're like, well, I can't tell you my name, but you can just call me Pi, right? And you can use whatever pronouns. So now my music is being...
Okay, so...
who knows, right? The only reason... Right. K-Pi, any pronouns, right?
Do you have screenshots?
This is a non-person.
Do you have screenshots of that first email? We have screenshots of the Alice one, but not that first one.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time away to send them over to you right now. But you can have them later. But obviously written out of fear that I would communicate their communications to me. They are trying to make sure that there's nobody who can be held accountable. Nobody who's shifty business dealings can be examined. And we're now in this period where it's oh, the community is polluted with stalkers. Okay, but I'm not nobody. I'm somebody that knows the people involved in running this, and now they're hiding behind a fake email. That's ridiculous. So I didn't know who they were, and I was like, prove that you know who I am and that you have any authority over this project. That royalties are late by a year again. Can we see some money, or I don't want to be involved? And then sure enough, royalty payments went out. They had been late. This is the second year in a row, by the way. I didn't even mention this on Twitter before. This is the second year in a row that they had waited a full year to deliver what are supposed to be quarterly payments. And they got real up their ass about it too. You should have mentioned it. You should have mentioned that the money was late. We can solve that if you're just open about communication. Sure. Tell me about how I need to be open in communications, genderless, non-name email.
You should have hit up the Proton email before they emailed you, dude. Dummy.
Right.
But I also don't think, I don't think it's on you at all to have to ask to be paid. If the agreement is that you get paid every quarter, it shouldn't really be on you to have to remind them to do that, right?
You could do automated payments on Zelle.
Yeah.
You could do automated
payments.
Well,
I don't know if you can... Well, I don't know what the tools would be to automate the royalties for this, but yes, you can automate these things. I have taken classes on how to use Python to automate this, for instance. You can use QuickBooks, I guess. Anyway, so around that time, there was a QA with Sky Henwood where they reiterated that they do, in fact, want to use the original music. So clearly this got around to Spindleroo. People are asking hey, is the music from the comic going to be in there? And they say, oh, that's a valid. So clearly this conversation is poking whoever is behind the pilot at this. So I get the follow-up communication with K-Pi, and then eventually through Tensei, we get a link to be put onto a new Discord to manage the Homestuck music catalog. So this is my second time being this is basically my second time being fired and then being brought back in, right? So with no promise to recant anything that I said on Twitter at this point, they bring me back in because they're like, okay, well, you're right. We do have to do the maintenance that makes sense. This is about honoring the deal that we have so far. So they do their due diligence, bring me into a freaking mod team of mostly alt accounts that I don't know the name of. I don't know anybody from the old days anymore. Now I'm clearly like the oldest person in the room, which is weird. As far as I know, it could be anybody. It could just be, 5 accounts run by Andrew. Who knows? But
I mean,
I'm just imagining that, and with 5 separate monitors and keyboards. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know who even knows about Proton Mail that isn't making alt accounts all the time. Is all I'm saying. Anyway,
it has to be Vibri, the carrot of the dude.
I'm not going to go poking around FRAP.
Yeah,
whoever,
let's not.
It doesn't matter
guesses that we don't know.
Right, like we don't know, and that's what they want, and knowing makes you a stalker. Okay, so anyway, the Bandcamp did get restored, so I was happy about it. And they went through a lot of, we actually talked about stuff. Whoever these people were willing to listen to my suggestions on, we need to break up the albums again. We need to raise the prices because A, they were too low to begin with, and B, inflation, hello. And we should make a big chunk of change off this. And they're like, all right. And also, we'll be in touch about the cartoon. We'll be in touch about Hive Swap. We'll be in touch about the comic, I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. This sounds like they're actually willing to say that shit's all in the past. Let's get going, and then 2026 gets weird. Okay. So this is where out of nowhere, a video that's called Rip Bozo comes up. It's by an account that's just called Rip Bozo.
Mm-hmm.
And it includes a montage of uncredited death threats to Andrew that have appeared on the unofficial forum, unofficial Discord, wedged together with messages from Alice and I, as if to say and these people are involved too. I'm going whoa, you can't just throw in me criticizing Andrew and our very poorly maintained business relationship, and also my speculation about what the hell they've been up to for the 12 years that they've been ghosting me, with people sending death threats. You're trying to imply that I am attempting to incite violence. That's a character assassination. Our names are not redacted. A lot of the people who posted the death threats names are redacted. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I do find that strange.
And this was most of the screen taps they took of your messages were from before you rejoined that new server, right?
Right. A lot of screenshots are taken from periods of time where there was no guarantee that Andrew was ever going to get back to me. So periods of time where I was either being ghosted in the original period, or periods of time where I was being ghosted and James had fired me. Yeah. So, right. They're asking for me to feel bad about that.
But now you thought that the beef was squashed at that point.
Right.
And then
I thought that they were accepting okay, well, we can't run this guy's life. We do have to negotiate on the things that make sense to negotiate on. And I was thinking let's warm our relationship. But apparently there were vengeful ideas behind the scenes of what I owed the project rather than what, was owed to me.
Right. So because of the Rip Bozo thing, then our Homestuck official gets taken down. A whole bunch of other stuff with Megan. And then they posted a call-out document about Megan and a bunch of other people.
Right.
We already talked about
community issues. Right. So they're targeting individual fans that they think are too famous, right?
Yeah. And they, or whatever grievances, but and then they email you about stuff that Alice has said, your wife. And the interesting point about that, I want to say, is that the email is done in style of the call-out doc, almost as if it was going to be on it, but then they decided not to.
And this is what I said on Twitter, which is this is a prepackaged call-out doc. This is a threat to sick the community on me. And I don't think that I feel bad about calling blackmail blackmail. You know, it's an attempt at blackmail. It's a very strange attempt because these are all messages I just posted freely. You know,
And most of it
like
was your
these are all.
wife too. So it's like what
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's like
90% of it is my wife, who is not an issue, right? Like she doesn't work for them. You know, fuck do they think she owes? You know, uh,
it's so
so
funny because there is a quote where Andrew says when he was told to ask a certain someone to apologize, and Andrew said he wasn't going to do it because he didn't like. He said it would look like he was having to control his women or something. And then here we get flash forward. He's asking you to control women, like literally. It's like
that's very ironic.
it's very.
Yeah. I don't know, and it's not apologized to Andrew. It's not apologized to other named parties in this, including Toby, including Lexi Douglas, who no one even knows about. No one's thought about Lexi Douglas in 10 years. Like, all the fans are too young to even know that name. Who gives a fuck? You know, like, that's their own problem. Like, I don't need to apologize to a non-employee about a matter of public record, which is that they bailed on a Kickstarter. To continue being involved in this, it just makes no sense. Most of this stuff is totally irrelevant, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not clear who needs this apology, so it has to be public. It has to be me disavowing everything I've said and saying, just so you know, I'm a big liar, right? You know?
Yeah, both everything you and your wife said. Yeah.
Right. What kind of
not...
career am I supposed to have if I come out there and be like, ooh, I've had extremely shitty and negative experiences, but actually I take them all back because I so desperately want to make Suburban Jungle 5 or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's
right?
just, there's no guarantee that after you did that, you would be able to work on them. Like, it's...
Do a weird humiliation ritual, and then, great, you're in. Now you get to make one song for one game that may not come out for 6 years. You know, like, there's no quid pro quo, right? This is a very bad attempt to get something out of me. I almost wonder if it's just to say why they don't want to work with me. In which case, why didn't they just say, like, well, we're not comfortable because you've said all this and we don't like a leaky ship? That would have been normal.
That would have been normal.
But
that's
instead
what I mean.
Right?
It's the public.
Instead, they frame it like extortion.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
you need to make a public apology. That's the craziest thing because they were all screenshots from Discord that most people, unless you're like really parasocially involved with everything in the Discords, like you wouldn't know that you or Alice sent any of this. It's like it would be a different thing if Andrew personally would hit you up and was like, "Hey, dude, like apologize to me personally." Like that'd be a different story. But instead, they want you to vaguely publicly apologize. It's like, especially to people like Toby Fox, who probably and especially apologize to people like Toby Fox, who probably doesn't give a fuck about any of this. Like,
it's funny to think, well, what if Toby's behind it? But certainly, the idea that Toby would care is insane. You know,
like he's playing Smash Brothers with Sakurai. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, I mean,
right. It's off in Japan pretending to be a cartoon dog, you know, like I am, there is a sense of mystery of who felt entitled to all this. Is this a team of mods? Is this just Andrew's personal, like, actually like listicle, you know, old fashioned forum quoting your shit back at you style, like in the old internet? Like, I don't know who thinks this is a good idea. It appears to be an attempt at extortion. It would have been way worse for me in the long run to agree to these terms. I think they should have just said, you're a leaky ship. We're not comfortable working with you. Sorry. You know, at no point that they like checks will be in the mail because you do have an outstanding contract, but sorry. Right. But instead they feel entitled to make me participate in covering things up. And I don't like being asked to lie for them. It goes against what I think people would expect of me as an independent artist who's not completely married. You know, this is still the big feather in my cap, but come on, I have my own credibility to look after here.
Right.
Yeah. And the fact that they're coming after you on they're affecting your credibility entirely. So this will affect your career well past this, or potentially, hopefully we can help clear that up. But I
said this before, I think, but like on a professional level, like it does, like it's not insane to not want to work with someone if they've said bad things, but it feels like, because we've gone over the screenshots, right? Nothing is particularly defamatory or I think worthy, like the level of response that it's got.
Right. Some of it's crazy irrelevant. The Lexi thing, who cares? Comments about the production of Deltarune. Why do I have to do Toby's Press? That has nothing to do with Homestuck. The Mormon thing. What is that even about?
Yeah.
Just to bring it back to that.
That
Finally
was just
get
kind
to
of an
Mormons.
unhinged theory,
Uh-huh.
That,
And-
like, when I was first reading it, I almost had a thought of, like, are they being, like, a little bit cheeky, like, a little bit, like, making a little joke to try and keep it a bit lighthearted or something? Like, because it just feels so, like, out of pocket, right?
I think what happened was what they did was that someone, I don't know who, in the Homestuck Jedi Council, that they did is they were watching, I think what happened was they were watching Macon's new server because of the Macon drama, and then they probably saw Alice was in there, and they're like, wait, Alice Bowman from Michael Guy Bowman? Wait a minute. And then they go to the search feature, they look up all messages from Alice Bowman, and then they just scroll. If anything mentioned Hussey, they're like, screenshot it, put it on the doc, screenshot it, without even reading the whole conversation. That's probably
right. They're going in with the mindset that, like, ooh, I gotta collect some receipts, because if you hear the word receipts, you go like, they must have done something wrong. Why would there be receipts?
And then they posted on the Jedi Council, and they're like, hey guys, this person's doing this, and they're like, oh my god, we got, and then you get the email.
Given that Alice and I, and I guess it's mostly Alice in this, are fairly outspoken. I'm surprised how many of these things are not relevant to the specific experiences I've laid out for you for the last, of this like 15-year history, but are just random thoughts that any fan might have. Like, it sucks that High SWAT's not done, because people paid money for it, and they're trying to like needle on the terminology of like, well, you can't call that stealing. It's like, well, what would you call it? Because it certainly isn't like being fucking done, The Mormon thing gets me because what do you expect me to come out and say? Yeah, because if I'm really gonna like go out there and like on Twitter be like point by point, like I have a confession to make. Michael Guy Bowman has done you wrong. Michael Guy Bowman has said and endorsed things that his dumbass wife have said, including.
Can we
let's talk about how my dumb fucking wife said
that would have been
today,
really funny
right?
if you did that instead of posting just like in a satire way, just to throw it back at them. Say, I'm sorry that I insinuated that Hussey knew Mormons. That was totally out of line.
I'm so sorry. I implied that my wife, who was just kind of analyzing the oddly similar like cosmology of your comic, implied that you may have ever met a Mormon in your entire life. Like, are you serious?
Can we get a quick context on that? Just like 30 seconds on like the Mormon thing.
Yeah.
Do you
have the graphic from the thumbnail?
Yeah. Let me pull it up. But basically the idea is it was about psychoanalysis, but really the thing that was funny about that is just the way that they phrase it. They're like, we asked Hussey, and he said he didn't even know any Mormons. Like, which is just so funny.
He never met a Mormon, right?
So in the Jedi Council, they asked him literally, do you know any Mormons, just to verify.
Oh, right. This has become a matter of public record as conversations on the official Discord, which I'm no longer in, verify that, in fact, Andrew is fascinated with Mormonism. I believe is the word, fascinated.
It kind of looks like a Suburb session.
Right. It looks like the Volume 8 cover, I saw this graphic going around.
Was the specific comment they had umbrage with, I think, was Alice making a joke about him being Mormon?
Or
about him pushing Mormonism, right? The joke is like, I've been saying for years he's pushing. Well, Alice is familiar with the cosmology of Mormonism. She, shared with me the mini-series Under the Banner of Heaven, which is a fascinating true crime story based on a book about fundamentalist Mormons who committed a series of murders in the 80s.
Yes, they're a very sketchy group.
Right, a fundamentalist cult that still does the polygamy, still does all the stuff that like the church is uncomfortable talking about because it doesn't paint the community in a good light, right? So it's a fascinating look at this, but the thing that some people may know about this, if you've like consumed like the Mormon Jesus cartoon or South Park or whatever, is that there's all this weird stuff with like planets and like becoming the god of your own world, and there's a place called the Veil, and these are roughly similar concepts to Homestuck. We even saw somebody who took this chart and matched up different locations like Skya and stuff to these different places, and it's just like, there are Mormon-ish ideas about the reincarnation cycle in this, or this ascent to godhood cycle, and it's just like, yeah, you should be able to do comparative religion on a comic by, a quote unquote reluctant cult leader. And to find out that after all this, they're openly talking about like, oh, well, Andrew's fascinated by Mormonism. Andrew thinks this is the most Andrew thinks Mormonism is the most Homestuck religion. It's like, okay, so you're aware of this analysis too. To some extent, it sounds like you're admitting it's also potentially an intentional set of images, that you're importing to do your world building. So why do I have to like disavow that? It's crazy,
I've seen a million more unhinged theories about Homestuck than Mormonism. Like, why?
Right. And when Alice put this out there, it was like July of last year. This is a while ago, right?
Yeah.
And this is just a random, like, have you ever noticed that Homestuck's kind of got Mormon vibes, And
It just
so
shows that
they're coming at me with this. Yeah.
They were stalking you guys. If it wasn't,
Right,
I mean, it's like they talk about stalkers all the time, but it's either they did my theory, the control F thing, or they had
Right.
like an assigned person to monitor you guys.
Right, I don't know.
That is
It's one of the
something
two.
Homestuck has done before. In the Kate era, we had Kate sending in alts into various Homestuck fan communities, including a server I run, and she was going around there basically picking up any screenshots she could get, and then she'd post it on her Twitter. So
there seems to be a lot of fear now within non-Macon communities that like, oh, is there somebody with like an alternate account in here spying on me, screen capping me, making a plan to isolate me from my friends or disconnect me from my fan project or whatever? Because everybody like can see the implication of this style of engagement. It's like, forget what Nintendo does. This is like creepy, and like they have embedded agents. Who has that kind of time,
And who cares? Who
Well,
cares?
Right?
there's people who do care. I mean, they've literally said that they're there to protect Hussey and his public image. I mean, that's kind of their job that they don't get paid for. But
Oh.
I know.
Yeah. But whoever this embedded agent was, they saw like a comparison to Mormonism on a random day of the week and said, I'm putting that in my back pocket because Bowman's going to fucking eat it when I expose him as having a wife who compared Andrew's comic to Mormonism. Like, that is not an issue. That is not a real thing to apologize for. Like, God forbid that there should be elements taken from religion in a work of fiction. There's a troll Jesus at some point, ridiculous.
yeah, so I think what happened, like based off of what you said, I think the way Hussey operates is that if you slight him, or if something, he has like a penalty box that's indefinite. He calls it the poisoning, right? And I think all the way back to the Volume 6 things, I think when that happened, I think forever you have been branded as poisoned. And I think that's just how he's always thought about you for your entire life.
I don't doubt it. I definitely felt a souring of the relationship, and for years I thought, like, am I imagining this? Am I imagining that I crossed Andrew in some way, and that suddenly opportunities that I used to find easy to get, now I suddenly don't have access to, right? And I would get in my head like, am I just not making the right shit or whatever? What's happening? But seeing that this is like a pattern of behavior and that waves of younger fans have come, in and out of this thing and been like, this kind of sucks. I feel like, okay, well, this clearly is what's happening. Andrew basically like, I don't know. I feel like Psycholonials is a self-tell that this is a person who keeps enemies lists,
Yes.
and
Definitely.
festers over like, petty revenge for ages. So it feels weird to be singled out for, animosity when it's clearly like the other way around. It's clearly like somebody's got me on their fucking shit list and they're expecting me to be really fucking civil about it, or else they'll call me unhinged,
The thing is that if the reason why I say that is because if he ever cared about mending your relationship, ever, he would have contacted you, Skyped you, Discorded you throughout the years,
Right.
to be
Any of
like,
those
hey
fan
bro, like
projects.
what's going
Snail
on? Like,
mail the
but he
passenger
never
privilege.
did, and it seems like even back in the early days, he never really had an interest of even having a friendship
Right.
with you.
Project, yeah. Even if it wasn't going to be like,
It sucks.
like Hiveswap, which I guess is like just magical James land, there were plenty of other projects where my own peers were brought back. And oddly enough, somehow the invitation is not extended to me. And I just go like, was like Suburban Jungle not that important or something? Was my music not that great? No, there's clearly like people that they try to keep out of the project because they're worried about their influence spreading, because some of that influence includes asking them to fulfill normal business deals that anybody else would understand are normal to fulfill.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean to interrupt too much, but we are approaching our time. Michael, have we gone through most of the timeline for you, or are there a few other things you want to cover?
Now, I'm astonished that we actually got to present day, because it is so convoluted, and explaining this like laundry list of crap is so hard to do. But I do have to thank Alice for putting this doc together, because otherwise it would have been hard to like keep track of all the weird things that have happened. And there's plenty I'm like not bitching about because it's not relevant,
Mhm.
Yeah, I could keep going for like hours and hours,
You,
honestly.
you were
talking, 'cause-
dropping very interesting lore and takes, and I have been at the edge of my seat this whole time. But unfortunately, we do have to start wrapping things up.
That's
Uh,
okay. I got a family to care about. Yeah.
I have a literal fire I have to put out at work. So
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
He's just been letting it roast, marinate, And
But anyway, Michael, I have some questions. Like, are you working on anything outside of Homestuck?
Yes, always. I would encourage anybody that likes my Homestuck stuff to realize that, like, I loved working on it at the time, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity, but I've done so much other stuff. Check out all my solo albums. Right before I put out Bowman Stuck, I had a CD called Your Majesty, which you should check out. That's like some of my more recent songwriting. I'm super proud of that, and all the other records too. And I am working on other music. I got responsibilities other than this, because I got a kid. So I'm taking my time balancing it out and trying to like do more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, are you still open to work with Homestuck, or are you just kind of done?
I think, look, they emailed me back and said I'm not welcome to anything at this point. I think if they're going to try to do attempts at extortion and blackmail, I shouldn't work with them. I expect to see money arrive for what I've already made, but they're going to have to, they're going to have to start apologizing to me at a certain point if I want to believe that they're actually serious about working with me again. And if they think I'm not necessary, then fine. It's honestly a relief to finally know once and for all that this is fucking done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, hopefully this helps clear up your name and you can kind of just wash your hands of this whole situation, because this sounds like a nightmare for you two, and I feel so bad.
Oh, it's weird to get dragged by random people on Twitter, but honestly, it doesn't seem like a lot of them even knew who I was or were fans. I'm not too worried about them. I'm not, like, sure, there's like a weird little hate community now that's just like glad handing every weird choice that FRAP or, Andrew makes. They can keep to themselves. I'll keep doing I have other stuff going on. It may not be this crazy viral internet phenomenon like Homestuck was, but you know, I have a life. I do other stuff I like to do. I'm trying to work on other music right now. I'm tempted to announce it, but I shouldn't. This is really not the time or place, and it's too far out.
And we're a little small. You should do something. Announce it on like a bigger scale, man. Of course, if you ever want us to help with the shout out, we can provide that.
Thank you.
Our little following here.
Yep.
Just check out my reels.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do more of those.
I will make sure to follow after this.
Yeah. Who's your favorite Beatle?
I'm trying to be funny. My favorite Beatle? Gotta be Paul.
Oh.
What? What? Oh.
I mean, I like.
Hey
I like
Jude
George.
gets an O from you. Yesterday gets an O from you.
Yeah, I like George.
George is cool.
He's pretty cool.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
real.
who's cool too? Ringo and John.
Oh yeah.
Octopus's Garden was very good.
That's good. That's one of my favorites. Pretty good.
You know what's good? Thomas the fucking Tank Engine, Ringo, all the way.
Hey, Thomas the Tank Engine was done by Ringo Starr?
First 2 years of it in the UK. You got to listen to the original UK dubs.
Holy
I don't
shit.
fuck with the UK. You know, I think that country sucks.
Whoa.
I'm right here.
Sorry,
I've
Jojo.
been to the UK, and nobody can drive in the UK.
Oh, you know what? Watch my I made a YouTube short called Fun Train Time. That's like a Thomas parody. I made it like 10 years ago, and randomly Thomas Twitter found it and it got around. Watch that. That's the main thing I'm promoting right now. It's like, oh, I'm glad Fun Train Time finally caught on after 10 years.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Anyway, we have really enjoyed our time with you. You have given us so much information about early Homestuck and a lot more clarity on this whole email situation with K-Pie and Homestuck basically saying, control your woman, dude. So I thank you, but we do have to wrap it up. So I just want to ask the crowd, make sure to like and subscribe, send this to all your friends, argue about everything everything we've said in the comments, and everyone give Michael a fine farewell. And Michael, if you have any closing remarks, go ahead and say them here.
If you're a fan of Homestuck and you're still trying to figure out how to appreciate it in spite of the weird things that happen, just remember it's not that hard to enjoy, you know, problematic or troubled media. I do it every day. A lot of my favorite stuff is by weird people. You don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to choose me over the project. Just, I appreciate that I have people that like what I do. And if you discovered me through Homestuck, I think that's so great. I'm still proud of the work I made.
All right. I'm gonna end it. See